let's get into the playoff picture. That's what we're going to do now for the next bit of the podcast, because the lines are out. We've got the FanDuel Sportsbook pulled up. The lines are posted. Totals are still kind of filing in. Some are not posted, but we've got lines up for these games. The schedule is also out for this coming weekend. I'll give you the schedule, and then we'll dive in. We'll just go right in order of the schedule, as opposed to going conference by conference. We'll just go schedule, because that's how you folks watch the games. That's how you consume it, just like us. We'll go right in order. So Seattle, San Francisco, 4:30 Saturday. LA, Jacksonville, 8:15 on Saturday. The Sunday lineup: Miami, Buffalo, New York, Minnesota, Baltimore, Cincinnati. And then Monday night is Dallas and Tampa. Brandon, we'll start with Seattle Island. I actually like this idea, starting Seattle Island, drifting to San Francisco. These teams met twice, of course, as division foes. The Niners handled their business twice. The line is currently 10, and the total sitting at 43.5. San Fran's the favorite. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, unfortunately, the hot read on this one was the 49ers literally the second that it opened, because we had some -6, -6.5, which was a big mistake because those got scooped up in a hurry. We hit 7, we hit 8, we're at 10. It probably will keep rising, and I think it's rising correctly. The tide has risen on the Seahawks on Seattle Island all year. Look, the Niners are the red hot team in the NFL. Brock Purdy hasn't lost. It's a home game against a team that can't tackle. Teams that can't tackle are not who you want to play the 49ers against. That's not going to go well. So weird schedule thing. Like, why did we put the one West Coast game as the early Saturday game? Very strange to me. I don't know about that, but I don't have a great angle here. The angle was to grab the Niners as quickly as you could. It's maybe like a teaser spot if we can get to a better number. But yeah, it's hard for me to see anything but a 49ers win, and probably a rolling win, like the Niners have been beating everyone else lately.
Jill, we're not quite in the touchdown availability, of course, because these lines were just posted. I will add that if you go to scoring under winning margin, San Fran 14 plus is at plus 110. So yeah, I think this is, of course, those aren't great odds in comparison to the 10. My point is I think this is, to Brandon's point, this is very well moving in San Fran's direction, it feels like.
Oh, absolutely. When it's opening at 6.5 and then going to 8.5, and we're even just talking about it through Slack of like, watch the line and it's already at 10.5, and then it might have bounced back down to 10, but you're probably going to see it hover around this line for a while. And yeah, just San Francisco just outmatches them in nearly every way. Even if you have a rookie quarterback who looks like he's 12, playing, the fact that it's already set. I've talked about this, like when they were playing the Raiders, even though they didn't cover that spread, just that this team is pretty much almost like a set it and forget it type of team, like where you can have a game manager style of quarterback and still succeed. And I think right now, from a touchdown matchup standpoint, I'll be looking right at George Kittle. And I imagine he's probably going to be anywhere between the plus 150 to plus 175 range in that game.
Chargers Jaguars is the late game on Saturday night. So, Brandon, you were in on the Jags to go worst to first. They finished the job, even though you felt, they probably didn't deserve it, but they did it, and they deserve credit for that. They're playing again on Saturday night at home, so they get a full week, a regular week of rest, and they're welcoming in the Chargers, a team that they destroyed 38-10 in week 3.
Yeah, and I'm going the exact opposite way. This is my hot read right now. Give me the Chargers -1.5. I don't know if you need to take it right away. Traditional hot read is that we think the line's going to move against you. You want to grab the value there. This one's been bet down. It opened Chargers 2.5, and it's starting to fade a little bit. So I don't know if you need to grab it right away. I wouldn't be shocked if Jacksonville ends up being favored, but I mean, the Chargers are the right favorite. It's a great matchup for the Chargers. Now, I know they got trounced last time, but week 3 is a long time ago, and I have crapped on the Chargers all season long. But I noticed as I was kind of prepping for this home stretch here, coming out of the bye, the Chargers played 7 games before the bye. Jerry Tillery was a big problem for this defense, not in a good way. They got rid of him. They got healthy a little bit. The J.C. Jackson thing early in the season, in and out, they figured that out. Just he wasn't around anymore. Since the bye week, coming into today, Chargers ranked second in passing defense by DVOA. The one thing the Jacksonville Jaguars do really well is pass the ball. But if you're going to hang your hat on Jacksonville, it's because of Trevor Lawrence. Well, I'd definitely rather have Justin Herbert than Trevor Lawrence. No matter how good you think Lawrence is right now, you still want Herbert. And the Chargers pass defense matches up well. The Jaguars pass defense is bottom 5. So you're going to have a great pass defense against a effectively rookie, considering how we've treated Lawrence all year with last year gone. And on the other side, you got Herbert should be able to pass all over this team if he has receivers. Hopefully Mike Williams is somewhere out there, but at least Keenan Allen, I think he's the more important guy. So I love this for the Chargers. I love this matchup. Jill, both you and I were on Chargers early. We talked about them for futures. We wanted this 5 seed slot. I still see 11-1 AFC. This is the reason you get this matchup here. Then you play the Chiefs, who they went wire to wire with both times, who Herbert and Staley have really had answers to hang around against the Chiefs. I think they're dangerous there. I don't want to go all in on the Chiefs. I think I want just the AFC not Super Bowl because I want to have some options to hedge later on if we do get out of there. But I like them a lot in this matchup. I think they're better in all 3 phases. They got the better quarterback. The D is playing great. I think it's a great spot. It's my favorite bet on the slate right now.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would say is obviously if you're going to be betting on an AFC championship future, for example, you want at least to try to bet on one of the team that is going to win and move in advance. So if you had to choose between the Chargers and the Jaguars, you're looking at 11-1 for the Chargers or a 21-1 for the Jags. I don't think it's a very difficult choice to want to maybe back the Chargers in this spot. I think the Titans game, I think the one thing that we maybe glossed over when we recapped it is just the offense was not very sharp. Like, yes, they got the defensive touchdown, but they only put up 13 points in offense. One of the scores that they had was actually like a turnover in the Titans' own territory from Josh Dobbs. So I'm not saying that Herbert might not have a little bit of turnover prone here, but at the same time, there's just too many edges for the Chargers in this spot. I think from a touchdown perspective, if I'm betting on this game, I'd be looking at a guy like Gerald Everett. He did score this past week on week 18, and that is one of the phases, especially in the slot, that the Jaguars do struggle with. From a Jaguars standpoint, you got to look at Trevor Lawrence immediately because the Chargers, even though they have been really good against the pass, they are still struggling against the run, and that is one spot where if the Jags are going to have any success, that's where they got to have it, and I would rather put my money on Lawrence than Etienne.
And when you look at the Jaguars here, second half of the year, their 2 offensive outbursts were like second half rallies, Ravens. Cowboys, just not a complete package team. They did beat the Titans rather handedly. You're talking about the game that they played the first time around.
And even that Chargers game, the first time they played, like Justin Herbert had broken ribs in that game too. So I think that's another thing that we shouldn't overlook. Yeah.
Speaking of look ahead line, hot read. That's right. That was news that got, I think that may have broke after we had recorded on Sunday nights. That was kind of a weird thing you had to monitor. Yeah. I think it may have actually changed like Thursday or Friday when we did best bets. So that's a good call by you, Jill. So that line's sitting at 1.5. Some folks at Action are on the looking at the over right now as well. That creeps up right now. It's at 47. So keep an eye on the total as well. On to Sunday, Dolphins Bills. They meet again, round 3 in Buffalo. Bills are a 10-point favorite. This is complicated because we don't really know yet who the quarterback is for Miami, and Brandon will get to that. Remember, just kind of take folks back in time. These teams met week 3, hot as hell in Miami in September. We all know that. But then you actually watch the game and you're like, oh, yeah, these guys are really tired. They ran 90 plays in that game. So Buffalo just looked gassed, if you recall. Some funky stuff at the end by the Buffalo offense. Miami won the game 21-19. They were a home dog. And then in week 15, Buffalo barely escaped 32-29, your final. So Miami covered twice. They won outright in one of these games. But the big question is who the quarterback is.
Yeah, and both games really classics. That week 15 game was the snow globe game that we got just the perfect Buffalo setting, just the big flakes coming down at the end. So as a fan, as a neutral, hopefully we keep the trend up. We've had 2 awesome games between these 2 teams. Right now, the Bills are 10-point favorites because we just saw Skylar Thompson like barely remember to throw the ball forward most of the time. So yeah, I don't know how you can really bet this one until we get a better feel for which quarterback, even if it is Tua, which I have my doubts about because of all the concussion problems this year. Don't forget, though, that's not necessarily a cure-all because the offense, even with him, had really been struggling down the stretch too. So my instinct is I'm going to probably wait on this one, maybe end up doing like a Dolphins team total under. That's where I went with today. I just don't have a lot of confidence in this team scoring points right now. Miami has really look, they nearly Titans their way out of the season. They only got in by that late field goal here. Otherwise, I think we'd be thinking a very similar story about them. So my question on this one, we had a lot of unknowns this week about what's going to happen with the 1 seed and the Bills and the Bengals and the Chiefs and all of that, because of course they canceled the Monday night game and they had to kind of make up some new rules. So one of the new things is if the Bills do make the AFC Championship game, if they beat the Dolphins and then presumably would probably play the Bengals again, then we got a neutral site. So we're not doing Chiefs because they're off next week. If we end up with that Bills Chiefs game, I'm curious who you guys think that a neutral site helps more. Not necessarily like, well, it would be at Kansas City. We don't know. We don't know where it would have been at. So which team, January football style of play, do you think the Chiefs or the Bills, Jill, benefit more from a neutral site game?
I think I have to go with the Bills because I think I would pose it as a different answer. Like, which team does it hurt the most? I think it hurts the Chiefs the most to not play at Arrowhead if they were playing the AFC title game. They played there the last 4 straight years, right? So they're used to playing in that kind of environment, and they're the type of team I think that feeds on that type of energy. So not to say that playing at a neutral field, they wouldn't be able to be just as efficient offensively. But yeah, I think the Chiefs have the more to lose and the Bills have more to gain if it was at a neutral site.
I guess the concern, though, with Kansas City is they've lost, I think this is right, they've lost their last 2 AFC title games at home. They lost to New England in 2018 or the 2018-19 season, and I'm drawing a blank on what the other one was.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank as well.
Thank you. There you go. There it is.
Oh, sure, yeah. But that it strikes me in both cases less as an Arrowhead effect and more as a forgot to bring our defense effect, which is the Kansas City defense unfortunately has to travel with them to the neutral site as well. So we may not have escaped that problem.
Well, and Jill, may I add, I mean, part of me keeps forgetting that Buffalo, Kansas City in the AFC was not the AFC title game last year. That was the divisional round, right? So
yeah, it was Bengals KC and then Titans
right.
KC the year before. And then the year before that, anyway, KC has won 2 of the last 4 AFC title games.
Okay. There we go. We're moving along. Okay, on to Giants Vikings. This is the final game of Sunday. Yes. No, pardon me. Middle game of Sunday. Giants Vikings. Oh, here we are again. Vikings laying 3, just like they did week 16. Brandon, they're at home. And, the Giants, I think there was some 4.5s out there for the week 16 game, but you saw 3.5, and I think myself, I was on 3.5 at the time, week 16. Greg Joseph has to hit a 61-yard field goal for those lucky son of bitches Vikings to escape again, and they're laying 3. So I feel like folks are they're going to wait for the 3.5, right? Could it get to 3.5?
I mean, it could, but yeah, I sure want to wait for it. As a bettor, as someone telling you how to bet, when this hits 3.5, you have got to be on the Giants here because you have to be wanting that spot off of the key number. Even without, I think the Giants are probably going to end up being the play. And that's the problem is I think we're more likely to get to the 2.5 than the 3, because I think even at +3, we're going to see some Giants money come in. Every game both of these teams played all year was a 1-score game. Basically, like the Vikings won today by more than 1 score for literally the second time all season. We were talking about that if you flip all the 1-score standings, the Vikings finished the season 2-15 at the bottom of the entire NFL. So when this game happened last time, I did that funky thing we've talked about a couple of times where I played both sides to win by 6. It hit last time. We got the Greg Joseph walk-off winner. I feel like I'm probably just going to end up doing that again. Of course, we're going to have a 1-score game. It's the Giants and the Vikings. They can't do anything other than that. I think it's a good teaser spot for the Giants, even at 3, because you get that up to 9. All right. All you need is anything that's a 1-score game. Who cares after that? So that's an easy one. I don't think this game, like, I'm a Vikings fan, of course. This game is not relevant to anything important from a standpoint of neither of these teams winning the Super Bowl. The relevance is this: the Giants are live. The Giants absolutely can win outright. If they do, it drastically changes the rest of the NFC picture, because now the Giants probably go to Philadelphia in their opening game, and the Eagles essentially are getting a bye week into the NFC Championship where they're at home. That's great. We just saw how that went today for them. And now Brock Purdy has to play either Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, or Dallas and all the pass rush, Dak Prescott. San Fran certainly wants Minnesota to win this game and would be happy to host the Vikings. And I would cry about the punishment my Vikings would take in that game. If the Giants pull off the upset here, if you like the Giants here, you should like the Eagles to win the NFC much more.
Good way of looking at it. Giants, by the way, the most profitable team in the NFL this year against the spread. They were 13-4 against the number this year. And a lot of those spots are the one they're in this weekend. Underdog, short underdog in a lot of cases. Jill, what do you think? Second matchup between the Giants and Vikings, and it came down to a field goal last time.
Yeah, I think this game is going to break the Action Network luck rankings because usually like our colleagues, Nick Giffen and Sean Kerner, they'll recommend like, oh, this team based on the luck standings. Well, there's going to be no edge on that because both of those teams have lucked into kind of being where they are in the playoffs in the NFC. I think I'm just going to have to take Giants money line. I'm sorry, Brandon, but like, it's just right now, the game was so close last time. The Giants have just a horseshoe up their ass. And I'm going to shoehorn that horseshoe right up to my bookie's ass as I bet this game.
Can't blame you.
Can't blame you, but your poor bookie. Okay. And it's not quite prime time for Kirk Cousins. I mean, it's a standalone game, right? But it's 4:30. There is a little bit of maybe in Minnesota at 4:30. There's no light. They are inside, but not quite under the lights at that point yet for Kirk Cousins. So, okay, on to the Sunday night game this coming weekend, wildcard weekend. Baltimore, Cincinnati. They just played each other, right? We just saw these teams face each other. Brandon, they were matched up in week 5 at Baltimore. Came down to the end. Ravens won on a Justin Tucker field goal, 19-17. And once again, I ask you, well, I'm asking you, I'm kind of playing dumb here because I want you to explain it, but is the number, which is 6, the Ravens are a 6-point underdog. Now it's up to 6.5 as we talk to you now, late night Sunday, early Monday morning. Is this Lamar Jackson news baked in, meaning Lamar is playing or not playing?
I think we're hedging. I think we're in the middle on this one, kind of waiting this one out to see if he ends up playing. I think we don't know yet. And the problem is, even if he does play, it's been ages since he played. Like, we don't know what version of Lamar Jackson we're getting. So you have to kind of bake that into it as well. We don't necessarily just get MVP Lamar Jackson back out here. Dude hasn't even practiced yet.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to go out Allen Iverson, but we're talking about practice here, right? Like, if you can't even practice, you're not going to go out and like do Lamar Jackson things, running all over the field and being the entire offense. But at the same time, I think you're probably going to end up on the Ravens on this game because it's a divisional game, divisional rematch in the playoffs, often stay very close. If the Ravens had tried today, what I would have expected was a low scoring defensive slog sort of game. That, that's what John Harbaugh does. And I think we at least have to expect Tyler Huntley next week, not Anthony Brown like today, and some of the other Ravens guys trying. And Huntley, if I remember right, every game Huntley has played in has been at least 3 points or less, or they've won outright. I think all but one have been that way. So I think we're getting at least Huntley. If it's Huntley, I will probably like the Ravens to cover here, but the Bengals maybe to find a way, or maybe a second half play. if it's Lamar Jackson, if he actually looks good to go, the Ravens are live to win this game and maybe more, just because they are a different team, and different teams in the playoffs are always a little difficult. You never know when you might get the right matchup. Ravens run the ball really well and a lot of times, and they defend well. They defend the run well. And if you can stop the run and run the ball in January in a league where no one really cares about running anymore, but the best way to keep the Josh Allens and Mahomes and Herberts and all those other AFC quarterbacks of the world off the scoreboard is over on the sidelines while you're just running the ball all game long. So I'm intrigued here. I'm intrigued by Baltimore. They look like trash right now. They can't score at all. But if it goes right, I think there's a chance here where they could surprise a little bit.
Yeah, and the Ravens did not play the Chiefs in the regular season this year. So that's a matchup we haven't seen. And with Lamar or no Lamar, they just didn't face each other at all. So
I have to laugh because they didn't play this year, but I recall something like 3 straight years I have been absolutely confident if you would build a team to beat the Chiefs, you would build these Baltimore Ravens. And I back them and I'm ready every year. And every year I get pantsed and the Chiefs just take care of business against the Ravens. So hopefully, for the sake of my wallet, I don't get suckered back into that one. But I have to laugh because I know that one's been a thorn in my side. So I will be very interested. I know Stuckey over on Six Pack has very clear thoughts on the Ravens. I would be very interested to see what he thinks of this team's chances.
Jill, when you look at this matchup, two teams that just faced each other, but could look very different based on starters being rested and the Lamar Jackson situation, what jumps out to you?
I think if you think that Lamar Jackson is going to play, you take the Ravens spread right now. If you don't think he's going to play, you take the Bengals and you get it in ASAP, because the line closed today at 11.5 in this matchup. And I think if Lamar plays, it'll probably maybe drop to 5, 4.5. I think it would probably be around there if it's around 6, 6.5. So that's kind of what it is right now, is that it's more about your conviction. If you feel that Lamar is going to play, grab it. If you don't, then you better grab the Bengals now, because as soon as Anthony Brown or Tyler Huntley get announced, that line is going to shoot up even more on the Bengals side. Okay.
Good stuff. And curious to get your thought. I'm curious what the number might be on Lamar to score a touchdown if he's active. We'll find that out. All right. And then finally, Monday night, Cowboys, Bucks, Tampa, home dog. Tom Brady, a home dog in the playoffs. Wow. Cowboys are laying 3 at Tampa. They met in week 1. These two teams met week 1. Bucks won 19-3. Same night that Dak Prescott got hurt. And I think that was our first time together doing the recap show. And I think I was like, we were all losing our minds about this, but turns out Dak came back and he hasn't played great. I know Jill talked about this earlier. The interceptions have been not good. We'll start with Jill on this one. Jill, what do you think? Cowboys laying 3 on the road.
I think it's a fair line based on what we've seen between both of these teams. But the fact that I am a Cowboys fan and immediately put money down on the Buccaneers money line just shows like the faith that I have in this team right now, is that they're kind of stumbling into the playoffs. Like once the seed was locked in, like once they got the double-digit wins, it almost kind of feels like they were just, trying to just tread water to get to the playoffs. It's almost like they knew that they couldn't get the 1 seed from the Eagles at this point. So you could argue that this is the matchup that you wanted, but I don't think so. This is not a type of defense that you want to face, especially with how they've kind of ramped up their intensity, and they're the type of offense that could take advantage of Dallas's incompetencies on defense, especially over the slot with a guy like Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. I think they could really take advantage of them there. So yeah, I think the Bucs win this game, unfortunately. And I'm going to probably weep in my pillow on Monday night.
Sorry, I said, that's too bad. Well, you can weep on the podcast too when we do the recap show after Monday night if you want.
Immediately after that game.
Oh, yeah, that's actually going to be fantastic to get raw, emotional Jill, no matter what, win or loss.
Or raw, emotional Tom Brady lover with the loss when you're hosting.
That's true,
so
too.
Win-win for me. Either way, I get to just laugh at one of y'all losing your team for the year. I think that this is a pretty good matchup for Tampa Bay. The thing that you love about Dallas, if you think Dallas can make a run still, and look, I was on Green Dot Daily like a month or month and a half ago, backing Dallas for the run. You like their pass rush. You like how they can get after the passer, but Tampa Bay gets the ball out so fast because that's Tom Brady's thing that kind of neutralizes the Micah Parsons factor. And Dallas's pass defense has not been good at all. Like defending the pass, Tom Brady, I think, could have a throwback game a little bit here and put up some real numbers on this team. Yeah, Tampa Bay's defense also hasn't been good down the stretch. So maybe we get an over here. I'm curious. I don't have the total. Do you have a total on this game right now?
45 and a half on FanDuel.
Interesting. Yeah, I would lean over on that. I want to look a little bit before I play, but yeah, my prediction for this game is just something stupid's going to happen. That's it. Something ridiculous is going to happen to one of these
last year,
teams.
Dallas last year against San
Absolutely.
Francisco.
Like you can just, I could script 100 different ways for this game to play out and end, and every single one of them would be believable because it's Tom Brady, it's Dak Prescott, it's Jerry Jones. It's like every narrative coming out of this game will be delightful. And hey, look, as a Brady hater and a Cowboys hater, what better game for me? One of them gets to lose. We get to eliminate them right away out of the bat. I'm not really a hater, but I think it'll be a fun one. Tampa is way better at home. The offense especially is way better at home. I hate to do it, but we've been trashing the Bucs. I trashed them like half an hour ago on this podcast, but I think it's probably a Tampa spot. Again, looks like a pretty good teaser leg to me. If you get Tampa up to +9, it's hard to imagine Tom Brady just getting blown out to end the season, especially with the Dallas pass defense, just because I think that back door would be open for plenty of points. But yeah, I mean, if to me, the NFC is not as exciting as the AFC. I think it's hard to see anything but San Fran at Philly in the NFC title game. If it's not, it's got to be this game, right? It's got to be one of these two teams that makes the run. And so I think that's the interest here. I remember last year we had the Monday night game and it was Rams Cardinals. And I remember just being like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about these teams. Who cares? Don't care. They're not good. Someone will just lose the next round. I don't care about the action. Well, didn't work out for me because the Rams went on to win the Super Bowl. So I get a little deja vu here of like, well, one of these teams is going to lose. That's great for Brandon the fan, but one of them is going to win and then be very dangerous in the next round against whoever it is that they face. It's still all that talent for Dallas. It's still all that talent for Tampa and the GOAT at quarterback. So I don't know. I probably won't go too crazy betting on this one, but I will be terrified of whoever wins going on a run after that, just because the narratives will go out of control.
Yeah, I mean, look, Dallas went 6-2 down the stretch, and just a few games that jump out. The Green Bay game, that was one of their losses before they went on that 6-2 run down the stretch. The Jacksonville game, just those kinds of finishes or collapses suit what Brady and the Bucs have done. They just piece it together and figure it out in the fourth quarter after really doing virtually nothing for most of the day. So, Jill, I can just tell by your body language that you're like, all right, let's stop talking about this because he's already visualizing it.
Well, we could talk about the possibility of Dallas winning. That would be a fun time.
Can I add, though, too, to Brandon's point? If Dallas wins, don't they kind of get the monkey off their back? Like, all right, we got the playoff win. Like,
no, it's got to be it's got to be an NFC title game appearance or nothing. It's got to be at least that for the season not to be considered a disappointment.
I disagree. I think that whoever wins this game is going to be dangerous. Like as the futures analyst, I suspect coming out of this weekend's game, whoever wins this game is going to be the team that has the best odds for a futures bet going forward. Mm-hmm. Just because you're still going to have Tom, and look, Dak sucks with all the interceptions he's been throwing, and I know this doesn't work this way, but if you do non-turnover plays, the other plays, the rest of the game, Dak is basically second only to Patrick Mahomes on EPA, DVOA, all those numbers. The turnovers count, but they're right there. Take one or two mistakes away for the game, and Dallas is still really good. And Tampa finally is getting a little healthier. They got to rest today. These teams are dangerous. I just wish nothing but laughs for them on Monday night, but I'm going to have fun watching and then be scared crapless after that of whoever comes out.
And we will be here to talk about it for the Wild Card Weekend recap episode, best bets episode on the Action Network podcast. Also coming your way later this week from the 6 games taking place this weekend. That will do it for us, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. We look forward to our playoff coverage and doing a deeper dive into all of it, both conferences, as we work our way towards the Super Bowl. So it's just another way of saying we're not going anywhere. So we're sticking around throughout the playoffs. For Joe Gallant, Brandon Anderson, Brendan Glasheen, thanks for listening to the Action Network podcast, Week 18 NFL recap, Wildcard Weekend preview episode. We are presented by FanDuel. We'll talk to you all again very soon.